What's going on, Summoners? Welcome back to a new ProGuides video. It's a new patch, and like always, we got another drop of Korean builds. I'm Kangas, and I'll be your host running you through some of the most recent ones on patch 11.14. We'll go over the new builds for every role, so don't worry, because we got something for everybody. Hit that sub button, and let's get into it. First up, we got the top lane builds. TRUNDLE hasn't really had a presence in the top lane for several seasons now, relegated to a role as a counterpicked jungler instead, so he's dropped off quite a bit. His high sustained and high damage output does make him a strong duelist though, but the issue always comes down to keeping his enemies within basic attack range. With no reason to fight him, top laners are often able to simply walk away and accept a farm lane with a small minion loss. Eventually, they will outscale him with mobility or just stronger team fighting pressure. However, one of the newer items this season changes things up. But let me quickly run through the runes and then the items for the build. He'll use Grasp of the Undying, Demolish, Bone Plating, Revitalize, Presence of Mind, Alacrity, Attack Speed, Adaptive Force, and your choice of a defensive rune. For items, build Divine Sunderer, Defensive Boots, Hullbreaker, Steric's Gauge, Death Stance, and Spear of Visage. With the addition of Hullbreaker, your opponents are practically forced to fight you at some point, as one of TRUNDLE's most underrated strengths is his split pushing. He's often played as a jungler who sticks around to ult the tankiest enemy during a team fight, and last season we even saw him build a ton of supportive items, which seemed rather uncharacteristic given that his whole kit screams 1v1 skirmisher. His W's bonus attack speed and his Q are fantastic tools that help TRUNDLE quickly break down turrets when left alone in the side lane, and Hullbreaker just speeds this up significantly. So as a result, enemies are forced to deal with TRUNDLE, whether it's by fighting him 1v1 or instead sending multiple members his way. When using this build, you should run Summoner Ghost over Flash. The shorter cooldown will save your life. But another reason is that TRUNDLE typically wants a lot of room to work with when he goes for extended fights. His huge short cooldown means that you can apply multiple slows onto an enemy as long as you're in range of them. While Flash is great for the instant blink, Ghost is a superior aggressive option in the side lane as you'll be able to better punish over extended enemies. Split pushing is more effective than ever now that Hullbreaker has been added to the game, and I would not sleep on this strategy. And if you want help learning how to do it, hit up one of our coaches at ProGuides.com. They're fantastic resources for you to learn other strategies that you might not know how to use yet. Next up for the top lane, we have a build for Gwen. It's no surprise since she's a super popular pick and players still have some optimizing to do. This build utilizes Manamune, which makes plenty of sense on this champ. She's got lots of attack speed and can easily take advantage of its on-hit damage. The overall focus of this build is tons of on-hit effects as well as a good mix of defensive stats. For runes, you'll run Conqueror, Presence of Mind, Legend Alacrity, Last Stand, Bone Plating, Revitalize, Attack Speed, Adaptive Force, and then your choice of defensive stat. For her items, start off with a Tear of the Goddess, but if the matchup is tough, you might want to go for a Doran's item instead, but greed when you can to get that head start on farming stacks. Afterwards, build Riftmaker, Defensive Boots, Manamune, Nashor's Tooth, Zonia's Hourglass, and Wit's End. This build includes Zonia's for armor and Wit's End for some extra magic resist. And this doesn't heavily impact Gwen's damage output either. There's tons of attack speed and 3 different on-hit items. And it's also awfully convenient that Riftmaker provides Omnivamp because this build's got plenty of mixed damage. In extended fights, you'll be able to constantly heal up and make use of the defensive stats from your other purchases. And that'll wrap up our top lane builds, so make sure to take one last look at the screen for a recap of those. Next up, we got the jungle. Our next build is for TALIYAH. What's significant about this one is the use of Summoner Teleport over Flash. While it's a huge change, using Teleport grants you incredible map pressure. Aside from constant counter gank pressure, you can lead ganks with deep teleports followed by fast ultimates to quickly end up behind an enemy laner. This is not only unexpected, but powerful as enemies will overextend, especially when they see you on the other side of the map. While you won't have Summoner Flash, you'll be a constant threat to all lanes simultaneously. For runes, you'll still want to run Dark Harvest, Sheep Shot, Eyeball Collection, Ravenous Hunter, Celerity, Water Walking, Double Adaptive Force, and Armor. For her items, you'll build Everfrost, Ionian Boots of Lucidity, Zonia's Hourglass, Morellonomicon, Void Staff, and a Rabadon's Death Cap. The cost reduction of Everfrost has especially benefited TALIYAH, so make sure to not sleep on her as a pick. And next up in the jungle, we got Volibear. While he was previously abusing Turbo Chemtank to hunt down his opponents, things have changed since then because Chemtank was nerfed and Divine Sunderer received a buff. Players have made the switch as they now prefer the significant combat boost over a weaker mobility boost. Volibear's high damage output is acceptable, but most importantly, his turret dives after level 6 are absolutely insane. For runes, run Press the Attack, Triumph, Legend Tenacity, Last Stand, Nimbus Cloak, Water Walking, Attack Speed, Adaptive Force, and Armor. Your items will be Ionian Boots of Lucidity, Divine Sunderer, Steric's Gauge, Anathema's Chains, Thornmail, and a Spear of Visage. If the enemy team doesn't have that much healing, you can also replace Thornmail with Randuin's Omen for the extra damage reduction. Now, Anathema's Change is another new item that fits well into Volibear's game plan. You'll take reduced damage from whoever you mark and will also CC them for a bit longer should you manage to get in range to lock them down. The damage reduction though is the important part, and you'll definitely need to be aware of who the strongest enemy player is at all times. So we'll put those juggle builds up on the screen for you guys one last time. Make sure to take a look and save them if you need to. Alright, with jungle finished, let's move on to the mid lane. Set has been tearing his competition apart for lots of patches now. Even changes to Stridebreaker have not stopped him. He's once again seen a decent amount of play in the mid lane, and as a result, we'll highlight a build for him today. But the build is practically identical to his top lane build, just in case you want to play him there too. For runes, run Conqueror, Triumph, Legend Tenacity, Last Stand, Second Wind, Revitalize, Attack Speed, Adaptive Force, and your choice of a defensive rune. Second Wind is pretty important in the mid lane, as most enemies will naturally outrange you, and the extra sustain will help you tough things out, while you also have Summoner Teleport, which will allow you to recall, heal back up, and then get back to the fight as soon as possible. For items, build Stridebreaker, Defensive Boots, Sterix Gauge, Thornmail, Spear Visage, and Titanic Hydra. Titanic Hydra is single-handedly one of the best items that you can build on set. It just provides a ton of damage since he already builds plenty of health. So with him out of the way, let's go over our question of the day. Which part of the game do you think you are the best at? This could be mechanical outplays, it could be macro decisions, it could be in-game communication, anything about League of Legends that you think is your strength. I found that my strength as a support player is usually to play the mediator / babysitter for my team. I'm really good at calming people down when they're in heated discussions in-game. Sometimes it's as simple as a, hey guys, let's just mute all and keep going. Other times it takes a little more aggressive action. You can check my chat logs, it's nothing too bad, but hey, as long as everybody's refocused on the game to win, that's what I provide to the team. But let me know your answers in the comments down below. Now, another top laner who also found herself in the mid lane is Riven. Especially in high elo, Riven has been finding wins left and right. Her high mobility is even stronger than before because access through it via items has been nerfed significantly. Riven's shield is an incredible tool in lane as it allows her to effectively trade against a wide range of opponents and is of course another dash that she can use. Riven's mid lane build is a bit different, however. You don't need to itemize for longer fights and can instead opt for a more assassin-like build, bursting down enemies before they even have an adequate amount of time to react. For runes, you'll still run Conqueror, Triumph, Legend Tenacity, Coup de Grace, Shield Bash, Second Wind, Double Adaptive Force, and then your choice of a defensive rune. The items are where things get a little wild. You want to build a Prowler's Claw, Ionian Boots of Lucidity, Essence Reaver, Serilda's Grudge, Edge of Night, and Death's Dance. Even without crit items, Essence Reaver is still a pretty solid purchase right now. The Spellblade effect synergizes perfectly with Riven's short cooldowns, and you can't ignore the extra ability haste and crit chance that it provides. A random crit can be all it takes for you to win the game during a very crucial team fight. Prowler's Claw provides even more mobility and makes it harder to escape from the champion. The damage increase is also great as Riven can easily take advantage of the 3-second window with a full combo. So that's it for the mid lane. Like always, we got those builds up on the screen right now. Take one last look because we gotta move to the bot lane. Now, some of you might already be aware of this, but Ziggs is pretty good. Now, after some buffs, he's been doing even better than before, and while this patch he did receive a small nerf, he continues to perform well, at least when compared to how well he did earlier in the season. Ziggs' win rate as a bot laner has been absolutely phenomenal. He's a pick that you should not be sleeping on. If you regularly find yourself with team comps that lack magic damage, you can easily fix that problem by just learning this pretty simple champ. Make sure that when you play him that you're running Flash and Teleport. You want to recall early for item purchases, and it also helps compensate for his weaker early game. You don't need to be extremely afraid of taking damage as long as you can push the minion wave in, take your base, and then come back ready to take a real fight afterwards. For runes, run Arcane Comet, Mana Flow Band, Transcendence, Gathering Storm, Biscuit Delivery, Cosmic Insight, Double Adaptive Force, and then your choice of a defensive rune. For his items, you want a Liandry's Torment, Ionian Boots of Lucidity, and Archangel's Staff. From there, build a Horizon Focus for more damage, or instead a Zonia's if you really need it. Void Staff is another aggressive purchase that you can make as your 4th item. Rabadon's is 5th, and then for your last item, you can either go for that Void Staff or Horizon Focus, whichever you didn't go for earlier. And next up, we actually have a support build for all of you, as Gragas support is doing surprisingly well. Like always, he's a great flex pick, and like any other flex pick, locking him in early creates plenty of uncertainty for your opponent. Having a pocket Gragas ready means that if your jungler locks in Gragas and ends up in a tough matchup, well, you can then easily bail them out as support. Picking him with the intent of playing him as a support isn't that bad either, as Gragas is a decent frontliner who brings a ton of crowd control. For runes, run Aftershock, Font of Life, Bone Plating, Revitalize, Cosmic Insight, Biscuit Delivery, Ability Haste, and 2 defensive runes. For items, you'll want to start with Relic Shield, then build Ionian Boots of Lucidity, Shirelia's Battle Song, Zeke's Convergence, Watchful Wardstone, and Anathema's Chains. And finally, we got a really fun bot lane duo for all of you. Ice and Fire aren't supposed to pair well together, but the duo that we're talking about is Rumble and Ashe. The main objective of this lane is to hit a massive level 6 power spike and make a play off of it. Ashe is a well-known lane bully as she's got superior attack range, and her W is a reliable form of poke damage. And you will add to this by running Arcane Comet. With a dominant early game, you're able to easily push for level 6 and then either pick up free kills in lane or make a play by roaming or starting up Dragon with your team. Rumble will be the one running Ignite, and he'll also be picking up the farm in this lane. His runes are Arcane Comet, Nimbus Cloak, Transcendence, Scorch, Taste of Blood, Ultimate Hunter, Double Adaptive Force, and then a defensive rune. For items on him, you'll want to build Night Harvester, Sork Shoes, Zonia's Hourglass, Void Staff, Morellonomicon, and Demonic Embrace. Ashe will act like the support, and she will also still run the heal. For her runes, you'll use Arcane Comet, Mana Flow Band, Transcendence, Scorch, Cheap Shot, Ultimate Hunter, Ability Haste, Adaptive Force, and a defensive rune. Cheap Shot alongside Scorch provides so much extra value and make winning the early game that much easier. For items, start with a Spectral Sickle, followed up by Ionian Boots of Lucidity, and then build into Imperial Mandate, Manamune, Chempunk Chainsword, and finally a Watchful Wardstone. Well, that's it for the video, everybody. One last time, we put all those bottom lane builds for you, so make sure to take a screenshot if you need it right now. Thanks for watching the video. Really hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and also don't forget to like the video and sub to the channel. Best of luck on the grind, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.